welcome to another video. This is another plan with me video. Supplies will be listed down below as always, but I'll try to call out anything as I'm using it on the voiceover as well. And if you have any questions about anything, please leave a comment below. I do weekly plan with me videos, and monthly plan with me videos, so if that's something you're into, consider subscribing. So this week I am back to watercolor. I usually start with watercolor on my pages if I'm going to do it, just so it gives it time to dry. I used a blue and mineral violet color and just kind of mixed them together. My theme this week is kind of this occult magic theme, so I'm mixing those colors in kind of a bubbly forms on the page. And since I also did watercolor last week, I have some spots to kind of cover up. That part of the page is a little wrinkly, so I used a much larger piece of pattern paper than I would normally use, but it was pretty wrinkly, and so that was a nice way to cover it up. And in general, when I do my planning pages, my weekly pages or layouts, I use the left hand first page to do kind of a weekly goals and whatnot list. I did something kind of different this week where I used my Copic markers and some fine liner pens and did little illustrations on paper and then cut them out. I'm kind of playing around with the idea of doing some stickers, and this was kind of a fun way to start, though I have to say that the paper was a little thicker than I wanted, and my Copic marker dripped. I've never had that happen before. I have to call it out. Dripped onto my illustration like when I was 99% done. So I had taken the time to make this little snake and give him every little scale, and then as I was shading him with a darker green, the marker dripped, and I don't know, I store them on their side, maybe I'm not supposed to, I don't know what was wrong or why that happened, but I was so mad because there's no control Z, there's no undoing it, it just dripped on my illustration. Anyways, so I had to make a little flower to cover it up because I was too far into that to just give up on the little snaky guy. So, a little rant aside there. So yeah, I'm doing my left-hand page with this week kind of, and I actually hate the way that is written, and I go back and cover it up later. But that's kind of where I put my goals for the week, my to-dos for the week, and I did a little mini calendar this time. I've seen other people do that, and I actually really like that because it gives you more of a, like, hey, you're really at like halfway through July already, you should get your butt in gear, like look how kind of far you are through the week. And I think I'm gonna keep doing that. That gives me more of an idea that like I have one more week left in July and then it is August kind of thing. And as usual, I messed up my Tuesday by starting at TE. I don't know. My new thing has been, when I make a mistake, is to kind of leave it for a little bit and fill in the page more. Mistakes feel less like mistakes once I have a bunch of stuff around them. They definitely feel like a mistake when it's just a big white page. So I leave this Tuesday messed up like that for a while, and then I'll come back later and try to mess with it and fix it. What I've been doing for my different themes is I kind of decide on something and then I choose a small assortment of markers. So instead of putting out my whole rainbow assortment of markers, I take about 15 to 20 different ones that fit the color theme and I put them in their own glass jar. And then I also at the same time find a bunch of doodles on Pinterest or things that I've doodled before, and I pin them to a board. And I also will kind of doodle around in a sketchbook to kind of see what works. That means that when I start my spread for the week, I kind of have like a drawer of stuff to pull from. So I know basically what I want, but I don't plan out every little doodle and thing as I'm going along. I'm kind of like, okay, here's my bank vault full of different things, and what's going to work here, what's going to fit, and then I keep adding to it. So since this was kind of an occult, witchy, celestial theme, I guess, lots of blues and purples were the colors that I picked. And then I chose a few quotes. And that particular quote there, "Wouldst thou like to live deliciously," comes from Witch movie. The Witch was really good, and that quote kind of resonated with me, and I thought that was good. So it kind of fit this theme, and I do like that as a quote. So yeah, I do kind of pick out some quotes and a few things, put them on Pinterest, and then I kind of have that vault to pull from. And then I have my markers as my color scheme, and I pull out a few washi tapes that I think fit. I did really like doing the little doodles ahead of time on separate paper and cutting them out. That gave me something to work on all week long, and one of my big goals is just kind of to create and do things and draw and doodle and whatever daily. And so giving myself these little bite-sized chunks, for one, I could explore that more freely and then cut them out and put them in whether I wanted to or not and where I put them. And for two, it just gave me these little tiny things to do every day, like making a tiny piece of art. And then at the end of the week, when I do my Sunday spread, I have all of these pieces to put in. When I started doing more freeform layouts, I was going to put in pictures from the week, and that just really hasn't happened. I keep meaning to leave spaces to put a picture in, like, oh, this is a memory from that week, because I do like my spreads to have memories in them, and I do journal in my bullet journal. So this was kind of another way to not necessarily put in memories, but to put in some stuff that I've done that week, like little mini art pieces. So I think that I'm going to try to do that going forward. Maybe not with so many. I think I did 5 of them this week, because I do 2 4-page spreads, two 2-page spreads, something. Anyways, for a week. So in this first page on the left, I do kind of my overview for the week at a glance, goals, spending log, which I actually totally forgot to put in during this video, and it was only today when I started using my journal for the week was like, oh no, I forgot my spending log, so I end up putting that in under the goals section. And then I usually do Monday and Tuesday on this page, and then we flip the page and it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I usually just say weekend instead of Saturday and Sunday. So either or, sometimes I'll squish on more. So I ended up coming back and covering up the to-do this week and putting on some washi tape to cover up the first attempt. And I don't like the second one either. I can't say that my brush lettering is the best, and that's why I kind of do it every week, is to get a little better and to just be less afraid of it. So yeah, now I turn the page to the next one, and I'm doing my purple and blue kind of magic clouds that I'm going to doodle all over. I start out with watercolor almost always to just let that dry, and it kind of sections out the page. I start with the big stuff first, and then as I go, kind of hone it down to then just the doodles that are left. So adding in blue and purple and kind of mishmashing it together in a kind of cloud. I was trying to think of like they were like clouds of magic or something. This one, while it looks really great on camera, was a little too dark, and then when I tried to doodle over it, didn't work out very well. I even tried using a white pen or a silver pen, and it's still like, even it's just a little too dark. And just kind of globbing those little clouds of magic all over the page until it looks like how I want it to. I'll try to keep the purples and the blues separate right until the end, and then I let them meet, and so that you can see purple, then you can see blue, and then you can see the places where they meet. And that's that after it dries. And then adding in a couple more of my little mini art pieces and gluing them down with some Tombow dual-sided tape stuff. Again, I used some kind of sticker paper, so they didn't stick down as well as I'd like. I did buy some sticker paper, so I'm toying around with just drawing directly onto sticker paper next week and seeing if that makes the whole process a little easier, making these little mini art pieces. And I think eventually I want to use my printer and make some stickers for myself or to sell or whatever. But and then this section, I'm just using markers to kind of do what I've been doing with the watercolor all over the page, and I just was trying to play around with different ways of getting a similar look. So I just used light colored markers, mild liners, I think, for the most part, and a light Tombow, and made little clouds and kind of covered them up and made them try to look like watercolors, though they're not as bright and cool and organic looking as watercolors. Always just the way the watercolor dries is so cool to me. I don't think I can get over that. But I could have just done watercolor there too. And now I'm going to the stage after I've laid in my watercolor, put in my pieces, and my main quote areas, then I go and I just start adding in doodles. And this is where I'm pulling from Pinterest, and you'll see my phone come out every once in a while, especially with the feather. I am shite at drawing feathers. And so that's one of those things I was trying to be a little better at. It's my second feather that I've drawn, and it's kind of okay, but eesh, some people are much better at that than I am. Drawing in some crystals and coloring those in, and here you can see me trying to work with that really dark area and having a hard time. And adding in stars. I think this is the theme of this week. Usually I'm drawing in leaves and flowers, and this week it was just stars everywhere. And I really like how it looks when it's over the watercolor and outside of the watercolor, because that kind of looks like little clouds of galaxies and stuff. And at this point, even though I have a Pinterest page, I was starting to kind of falter on what to put where. So I just keep going with that kind of celestial theme and adding in more stuff at the top of the page over the watercolor. So yeah, and once I kind of doodle and I kind of finish up with some washi tape in places that look a little sparse to me, not always needed, but I just kind of like adding in different textures, and it makes it look better to me. And then this is kind of the stage where I go back and try to fix mistakes, or I take a step back and kind of think, well, this part needs a little more, and here's me adding a silver drop shadow to try to fix that Tuesday. And it helps to just kind of give your mistakes some breathing room. I think if you make a mistake and then try to go in immediately and like, oh no, I gotta do something about that, it makes it feel more stressful, where you just kind of walk away and be like, all right, I can deal with that later, or I could not. I could just ignore it. And then just adding in some drop shadows to my different text to make them stand out better. But anyways, I will speak to you guys in my next video, and thank you so much for watching. You can find me on Instagram, and yeah, leave your comments below. Thanks.